Imagine living in the shadow of someone who always received more attention and love. That was the reality of Leah, the wife of Jacob, who was never his first choice. But God, who sees beyond appearances, decided to honor her in a surprising way. Among the children she bore, one in particular carried a promise that few noticed at the time: Zebulun, the sixth son of Jacob. At first glance, he seemed like just another name in the great genealogy of Israel, without the fame of Judah or the leadership of Joseph. But God's plans never follow human logic. Centuries later, the land of this tribe would become the stage for something extraordinary, the place where the light of the world would begin to shine. Have you ever heard about the importance of the tribe of Zebulun? Could a people considered small and insignificant be part of God's plan for salvation? Get ready, because in this video we will discover how God transforms the unlikely into the essential and how the history of this tribe is directly connected to Jesus Christ. Leah never had an easy life. From the day she married Jacob, she knew that he did not truly love her. His heart had always belonged to Rachel, her younger sister, for whom he had worked for 7 years. But on the day of the wedding, their father Laban deceived Jacob and made him marry Leah instead of Rachel. Thus, even though she was Jacob's wife, Leah never felt that she truly had his love. Every day, she saw Jacob look at Rachel with affection, while for her there were only cold and distant glances. Even while suffering in this situation, God saw her pain and decided to bless her. Leah had several children, and with each new birth, she hoped that Jacob would finally change the way he saw her, that he would begin to value her. First came Reuben, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, and Issachar. But even with so many children, Jacob's love remained entirely for Rachel. Leah carried this pain in silence, living with the feeling of being merely tolerated, never chosen. One day, Leah became pregnant again, and when her child was born, something inside her changed. As she held him in her arms, she felt that he was not just another baby, but a special gift from God. With hope in her heart, she chose the name Zebulun and said, "God has granted me a great gift. This time, my husband will honor me." Genesis chapter 30, verse 20. The name Zebulun means honor or dwelling, reflecting Leah's greatest desire, to be recognized and valued by her husband. But Jacob continued to love Rachel above all else. However, God, who sees beyond appearances, honored Leah in a much greater way. From her descendants would come the priests and kings of Israel, and among them Jesus Christ the Messiah. Leah may not have received the love she longed for from Jacob, but God honored her in a way she could never have imagined. Her sixth son, Zebulun, would become part of God's great divine plan for Israel, and her story would be remembered for many generations. The years passed, and Jacob was already very old. His vision was weak, his hands trembled, and every word he spoke was filled with experience and wisdom. Knowing that his time on earth was coming to an end, he gathered all his sons for a very special moment. It was not just a family gathering, but a solemn occasion where he would give his final blessings and prophecies, words that would shape the future of each tribe of Israel. The sons approached in silence, understanding the importance of that moment. One by one, Jacob called them by name and spoke words that would be remembered forever. When it was Zebulun's turn, he said, "Zebulun will live by the seashore and become a haven for ships. His territory will extend toward Sidon." Genesis chapter 49, verse 13. These words carried deep meaning. Although the land of Zebulun was not exactly by the sea, his tribe would play an essential role in maritime trade. They would be in a strategic position, where many merchants would pass through, connecting the interior of Israel to the routes leading to the Mediterranean Sea. At that time, ships were the main means of transporting valuable goods such as spices, olive oil, and fabrics. Jacob's prophecy indicated that the tribe of Zebulun would prosper financially and play a crucial role in the exchange of goods between different peoples. While other tribes focused on agriculture and livestock, the descendants of Zebulun would be responsible for connecting Israel to international trade. But Zebulun's blessing was not limited only to wealth and commerce. Because of their strategic location, the Zebulunites would become a link between different peoples and cultures. This meant that they would also have an important role in spreading knowledge about God. In the future, their land would become the stage for significant moments in the history of Israel. Jacob's sons listened attentively to every word. For Zebulun, that prophecy was not just a promise of prosperity, but a calling. God already had a plan for his life, even before he was born. He did not know exactly how everything would unfold, but one thing was certain: his name and his tribe would be remembered forever in the history of the chosen people. Time passed, and the promise that God made to Abraham began to be fulfilled. After a long journey of 40 years through the desert, the Israelites were finally ready to enter the promised land. Under the strong and courageous leadership of Joshua, each tribe received its portion of the inheritance. The tribe of Zebulun was sent to the north of Israel, occupying a strategic territory surrounded by important trade routes. Their lands were located between the Mediterranean Sea and the Sea of Galilee, a rich region full of opportunities. Commerce and agriculture could thrive there, but there was a great challenge. The land was still occupied by enemy peoples, and the tribe of Zebulun would have to fight to take possession of God's promise. Even after conquering the promised land, some tribes had still not managed to completely drive out the Canaanites. Among the most dangerous enemies was Jabin, king of Canaan, who ruled the fortified city of Hazor. He was not an ordinary ruler. He was a cruel tyrant who mercilessly oppressed and enslaved the Israelites. His commander, Sisera, was feared for his brutality and led a powerful army equipped with 900 iron chariots, a devastating weapon at the time. The Israelites, without resources and without the strength to face him alone, were desperate. In the face of oppression, the people cried out to God for help, and he responded in an unexpected way. He raised up a woman as the leader of Israel. Her name was Deborah, a prophetess and judge admired for her wisdom and unwavering faith. God used her to give a clear command to the Israelite commander, Barak. "Gather 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, for God will deliver Sisera into your hands." Judges chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. The tribe of Zebulun did not hesitate. Brave warriors joined Barak's army, ready to face a much stronger and well-armed enemy. They knew that this battle was not just to protect their land, but also to defend the honor of the God of Israel. With faith in the divine promise, they marched onto the battlefield, confident that God would fight for them. The battle took place near the Kishon River, and everything indicated that Israel had no chance against Jabin's powerful army. The Canaanites were more numerous, had better weapons, and relied on Sisera's feared iron chariots, which easily slid over dry ground, giving them a great advantage. But God had a different plan. At the decisive moment, a strong storm fell over the battlefield. The rain turned the solid ground into mud, causing the iron chariots to get stuck. What had once been Sisera's greatest strength now became his greatest weakness. With the soaked terrain, his soldiers panicked, unable to fight or flee properly. That was when the Israelite army charged forward with all their might. The warriors of the tribe of Zebulun fought with courage, unafraid to risk their lives. Determined, they attacked the enemies and with God's help, completely destroyed the Canaanite army. When Sisera realized he was defeated, he fled on foot, desperate to save his life. During his escape, he found shelter in the tent of Jael, a woman from the Canaanite people. She welcomed him kindly and made him believe he was safe. But while he slept, Jael killed him, fulfilling Deborah's prophecy that the final victory would come at the hands of a woman. With the death of Sisera and the defeat of King Jabin, Israel was finally freed from oppression. The land now belonged to God's people, and the tribe of Zebulun was recognized as one of the main forces behind this great victory. In Deborah's song, the bravery of this people was exalted. Zebulun is a people who risked their own lives unto death. Judges chapter 5, verse 18. After the war, the tribe of Zebulun prospered. Located between the Mediterranean Sea and Galilee, it became an important commercial and maritime center, strengthening Israel's economy and expanding its relations with other nations. Their name was marked in history as a courageous people who trusted in God and fought to claim their inheritance. But the greatest legacy of the tribe was yet to come. Centuries later, it was precisely in this region that the true light of the world shone, the Messiah, Jesus Christ. The tribe of Zebulun, known for its courage and determination, carried a special promise. Even without having the same prominence as the great tribes of Judah and Ephraim, God had already prepared an important role for it in his plan. The ancient prophets announced the coming of the Savior and said that his light would shine in the land of Zebulun. At first, this promise seemed distant, a mystery passed down from generation to generation. But at the right time, it would be fulfilled in an extraordinary way. Centuries before the birth of Jesus, the prophet Isaiah had an astonishing vision. He looked into the future and saw something that would change the history of humanity forever. He wrote, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Upon those who lived in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned." Undo Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2. But what did this prophecy really mean, and why was it connected to the tribe of Zebulun? As the years passed, the region of Zebulun became a place inhabited by both Israelites and foreigners. Its location was strategic, in the north of Israel, between the Mediterranean Sea and the Sea of Galilee, close to pagan nations. This caused the local culture to be influenced by foreign customs, and many inhabitants ended up drifting away from the true faith in God. But this spiritual darkness would not last forever. As Isaiah had prophesied, the light of God would come to illuminate those people. And centuries later, Jesus Christ would begin his ministry precisely in that land, bringing hope to all. Because of this mixture of cultures, many Jews saw the land of Zebulun as a place less pure than the regions to the south, such as Jerusalem. For the religious leaders of the time, that territory was considered spiritually inferior because it was far from the temple where the people worshipped God. But God, in his infinite wisdom, chose precisely that place for the light of the Messiah to shine first. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem, he grew up in the city of Nazareth, which was located within the region of Zebulun. Later, when he began his ministry, he settled in Capernaum, a nearby city also in that same region. And it was there that Isaiah's prophecy was fulfilled in an incredible way. The Gospel of Matthew confirms this by saying, "And, leaving Nazareth, he went to live in Capernaum, a city by the sea, in the region of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled." Matthew chapter 4, verses 13 and 14. Now imagine the impact of this on the people of that land. The very Son of God, the long-awaited Messiah, chose Zebulun as the starting point of his mission. It was there that the blind regained their sight, the deaf began to hear, and the paralyzed were healed. It was there that crowds heard for the first time the words of the kingdom of God. It was also there that Jesus called Peter and John, simple fishermen from the Sea of Galilee, to become fishers of men and take his message to the world. The land of Zebulun, once considered forgotten and of little importance, became the first stage of salvation. It was there that the light of Christ began to shine for all humanity. The tribe of Zebulun, which was once seen as small and insignificant, was chosen to be the setting for the greatest event in history. The place that was once called the land of darkness was precisely where the true light shone. This story teaches us something very valuable. God does not choose the most powerful in the eyes of the world. On the contrary, he uses those whom many consider insignificant to fulfill his great plans. And so, the prophecy about Zebulun was fulfilled in an astonishing way, proving that God's purposes are always greater than we can imagine. The name Zebulun could have been just another one in the history of Israel, but God chose this tribe to be part of his plan of redemption. Today, When we talk about Jesus, his teachings and his miracles, we are talking about the land of Zebulun, the place where the light of the world began to shine. The journey of this tribe is proof that God always fulfills his promises. Since ancient times, the prophets announced that one day the light would come to this region, which was often forgotten by the great leaders of Israel. The centuries passed, empires rose and fell, nations were taken into exile and later returned. But God's promise remained firm, waiting for the right time to be fulfilled. And when that moment arrived, the light shone, and the darkness could not resist. In human eyes, Zebulun seemed like a place of little importance, far from the religious center of Jerusalem. It was a region mixed with foreign cultures, influenced by pagan customs and undervalued by the religious leaders of the time. But God has a way of transforming stories, exalting the humble, and using those whom no one expects to reveal his glory. It was in this simple land, among hills and fishing villages, that Jesus, the Son of God, chose to live and begin his ministry. He walked along its dusty roads, called disciples on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, multiplied loaves and fish to feed crowds, healed the sick, and set the oppressed free. The place that was once seen as insignificant became the stage where the greatest of all lights shone, Jesus, the light of the world, which never fades. This is how God works. He does not see as men see. To many, Zebulun was just another unimportant region, but to God, it was a land chosen for an eternal purpose. What began as a small, almost forgotten tribe became a fundamental part of the story of salvation. It was there that Jesus began his mission, bringing hope to all humanity. This truth remains alive to this day, transcending time and proving itself in the lives of those who trust in God. If he made a promise, he will fulfill it, no matter how much time passes or how difficult the circumstances may seem. Even when everything around says otherwise, God remains faithful. His timing is different from ours, and he always fulfills his words at the right moment, not before, not after, but exactly when his will determines. The story of the tribe of Zebulun is living proof of how God works in unexpected ways. To many, this tribe seemed insignificant. It did not have famous kings, prominent priests, or great achievements in the early years of Israel. But God does not measure value the same way the world does. What seems small to men can be great to God. While some may have thought that Zebulun would be forgotten, God had already planned something greater. He sees beyond the present and knows the future perfectly, showing that none of his promises fail. The prophecy about Zebulun could have gone unnoticed, just another among many ancient promises. But God never speaks without purpose. The centuries passed, empires rose and fell, generations came and went, but the word of God remained firm. And at the right moment, he fulfilled his promise in a glorious way. It was precisely in that simple and forgotten land that Jesus, the Son of God, lived, taught, and brought salvation to the world. This story teaches us an important lesson. God does not choose the most powerful in the eyes of the world. He uses those who are willing to be used by him. Ordinary people and unlikely places can become part of his eternal plan. Just as God chose Zebulun to be the land where the light of the Messiah shone first, he continues calling those whom many despise to do extraordinary things in his name. If God made a promise to you, do not give up, do not doubt, and do not be discouraged. The same God who fulfilled his word in Zebulun is the same one who fulfills his promises today. He sees beyond what we can see, and at the right time, his glory will be revealed. Now tell me, did you already know the story of the tribe of Zebulun in the Bible? Share this teaching with more people, leave your like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to follow more content like this. May God bless you.